Hi, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for joining us again on today's webinar. We're coming to you live from our Hackensack office here at the Weinberger Law Group. My name is Jennifer, and I'm an attorney here at Weinberger Law Group. We're doing these webinars for you once a week, sometimes twice, and we're happy to have you with us today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with all of you. We're still utilizing our new program to bring this seminar or webinar to you live. As we go along, I will attempt to answer your questions if they come up. Please know that I'm following along on my phone here on Facebook, but there is about a 20-second delay. So if you see me looking down, or perhaps I'm not getting to you quickly, that's because there's a little bit of a delay between what I'm doing here live in the office and what's getting to you. So we're going to get started. As you see today, we're going to talk about perilous mistakes that some women can make in divorce and how to avoid them. If you have any questions, again, I'm going to try my best to answer them live. If I cannot, feel free to ask a general question underneath the presentation right here on Facebook. Please keep it general. We don't want to ruin your confidentiality. If you want to ask something more specific, you're free to give us a call. You can actually also direct message us here on Facebook. That affords more privacy than posting on this open forum. So we're going to get started. Moving on, first and foremost, our very important disclaimer. This presentation contains general information only and does not constitute legal advice. Be sure to direct your specific question to a family law attorney. So the sections we're going to talk about today during our webinar, Women in Divorce, just an overview, 6 perilous mistakes that we've seen women commonly make and how to avoid them in a divorce. At the end, if we have time, of course, we'll answer some more questions if there are any, and we'll offer some help as well for you and information on where to get more information from us on this topic. So first, let's do a brief introduction and an overview regarding what we're talking about today. So just a little bit of a stat. In the US, while breakups between unmarried couples were gender neutral, men were just as likely as women to initiate them. When it came to actual divorce, filing for divorce, women initiated 69% of the splits as compared to 31% of men. And that was found through a study done by Michael Rosenfeld, who's a sociology professor at Stanford University. So just a little interesting tidbit there that while breakups of unmarried couples are pretty much equally initiated, women tend to almost 70% more of the time initiate divorce compared to 31% of men. Another interesting statistic that we found is 15% of women in the US today are divorced or separated, as compared with less than 1% in 1920. That was a study done in 2013 through Bowling Green University. So divorce is absolutely increasing. Why that is? Well, I'm sure that's up for debate, and we all have ideas of why that is. Perhaps women feel more liberated today to actually begin a divorce proceeding. There are women who are much more independent financially today than in 1920. They don't necessarily rely on their spouses for financial support anymore. So lots of changes between now and 1920. So yes, women going through divorce can absolutely 100% face unique stresses that men don't. And women can be more prone to making certain errors and missteps during the process. Now, of course, again, everybody's different and everybody's situation is different. I like to always use the illustration that divorces and divorcing couples are as unique as everybody's fingerprints. So, some women will relate to some of these mistakes and some women will not. So again, it really depends on your specific situation. These are just some of the common ones that, we see as divorce attorneys. All right, so let's get started. Perilous mistakes women make in divorce and how to avoid them. First mistake, being afraid to ask for what you want. Now, many women put their partners before themselves to their detriment. And a lot of times we see that women who do this have done it throughout their marriage. They've been over accommodating throughout the marriage. And when it's now time for divorce, because they've sort of fallen into this behavior pattern, they will probably be more inclined to acquiesce. So this is a common mistake. You have to sort of push through your comfort zone here, as difficult as it may be, especially if your behavior pattern has been such for many years. But this is absolutely a mistake that we see commonly. So some tips to kind of get around this. Don't be unreasonable. Of course, you don't want to go 180 degrees the other way and be completely unreasonable and dig your heels in. But it's not the time now to be a pushover. Push past what feels comfortable to you. Remember, property settlements are forever. What does that mean? Well, if you make an agreement simply because you're feeling bullied into it, or you're acting as a quote unquote pushover, you're pretty much out of luck, unless there's been some sort of extreme duress or coercion. If you agree to a settlement regarding a division of, say, your house or a pension or a bank account, that settlement is, barring really special circumstances, forever. If you agree to a custody arrangement because you feel intimidated, custody arrangements can be changed. They're not forever, but they're certainly not easy to modify. You have to go in and tell the judge that there's been really a significant change in circumstances from the point where you made the agreement. And it's even more difficult if you've actually made the agreement and it wasn't something that the judge ordered. So keep that in mind. Push past that comfort zone and remember that what you do can stay with you forever, or really for quite a long time. Another mistake that moms can make is believing that courts favor mothers in any kind of custody or parenting time dispute. This is not true anymore. And I say that because back when, there used to be something called the tender years doctrine. The tender years doctrine is a very old, outdated law that's not used anymore, that said that when children are very young, they need to be with their mother. Psychologists have proven this to be untrue. Studies have proven this to be untrue. So purposefully, courts and New Jersey laws are gender neutral. So don't go into your divorce saying, well, custody for me is guaranteed because I'm the mom. Courts look at many factors when determining custody and parenting time issue. In fact, we have 2 really fabulous webinars that we've done regarding custody and parenting time. If you want to go back on our page and look for them, we talk really in depth about those factors that the court looks at. And one of them is absolutely positively not gender. Think about that really in relation to LGBT couples now, where gender is it's just becoming completely and wholly irrelevant. So know for sure that your gender does not determine custody, but your ability to really actively co-parent your child does. So evaluate your availability for parenting time or a possible shared custody arrangement. What does that mean? Well, if you are very excited to have shared 50-50 physical custody of your child with your spouse, that's not going to work out if you work out of the house in a very high-powered job 80 hours a week. It's just not going to be feasible because you're not going to be present as you need be. So you may want that, but you may have to make changes or reevaluate your position based on really what the reality of your situation is. Always remember, courts must make determinations about custody and parenting time based on the best interest of the children. So start with that premise, because that's what a judge is going to do if you can't work out a custody and parenting plan with your partner. So the next mistake we're going to talk about is failing to become financially literate. Not all women today, while it's becoming more and more that women are financially independent and fully financial partners in the marriage, there are still some situations that we see where women are just not educated about their finances. We've seen women in very high net worth, high income, and high status jobs who don't know what exactly their financial marital picture looks like. So even if your spouse has handled the finances in your marriage in the past, you really need to become educated about them immediately. Learn what your combined income is. Learn what your monthly budget is, your expenses are, what your assets are, and what your debts are. As with anything in life, education and knowledge is power. You're not going to be able to negotiate reasonably or appropriately if you don't understand what it is that you have that might be subject to equitable distribution in the divorce. So make sure you know everything that's out there, even if you have to go and get documents that you might not have access to. Start gathering your financial documents sooner rather than later. So you might have to begin thinking about how to scale down your lifestyle. I've heard judges use the term new normal when they're talking about a separating couple. A couple together that is earning $400,000 a year is going to have to now support two households on the same income, because they're going to separate and they're each going to be in their own home. So things that you've spent on before that were luxuries based on your combined income may not be possible anymore, because you need to pay two rents or two mortgages or whatever your living situation may be, and all that comes with it. If you haven't done so yet, build your own credit. If you have nothing that's solely in your name, go out and get a credit card, go out and open up your own bank account so you can begin to pay bills when your marriage is dissolved, or when you move out of the house, or your spouse moves out of the house. It's really important to build your own credit. Even if you have fabulous credit with your spouse, start to build credit that is just attributable to you. Consider hiring a financial advisor if you don't already have one, for information on not only how to get through the divorce, but how to build for going forward for your new normal. Investing. If you're going to be taking part of your spouse's pension or IRA in the divorce, you want to know, how do I make that money work for me for when I retire? And how do I budget appropriately for all these new expenses that I may be shouldering on my own at this point? Can I do all the things that I want to do with my income, my share of whatever property I may get, and with any spousal support that I may get? So you might want to talk to somebody just to get all your ducks in a row. It certainly never hurts. We see a lot of times the mistake of divorcing women wanting to remain in the marital/family home at any cost. Why is this? Well, women can be what we know as or call nesters, who derive their identity from their homes. So they're a part of a community. They've really ingrained themselves into their neighborhood, the other moms in the neighborhood, the other wives in the neighborhood, the PTA, whatever else might be going on that is associated with their home. And they become emotionally involved. Anybody can be emotionally invested or attached to a place that they've called home for a period of time where their children live. It's only natural. But you have to understand that remaining in a home that you can't necessarily afford will make things harder down the road. And I'm going to harken back to what I just said to you about perhaps getting advice from a financial advisor and getting educated about what this would cost you. So what is the mortgage? Can I afford it on my salary? Can I afford it on my salary with possibly spousal support? So getting a clear picture about what you can and cannot do will help you now and make things easier for you down the road. Set aside your emotions. I know, easier said than done. It absolutely is. But you need to do that with respect to the house. And you need to ask yourself those practical questions. Not only the mortgage, what about all the other stuff that goes with it? Landscaping. God forbid the boiler goes. Would you be able to have enough money in reserves to replace that? There's property taxes. Now, of course, there's a positive tax consequence with regard to mortgage payments. They're deductible, but you may also want to talk with a tax professional to see if there's any negative tax consequences to remaining in the home. And of course, remember, moving to a new place can be positive. Your home may be filled with a lot of ghosts and memories and maybe not such good memories. And moving to a new place is a new start. You get a fresh start. It's just yours. So try to keep a positive attitude if it ends up that you can't remain in the home. The next mistake is we see sometimes, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the house, women kind of clinging to their former station or status really in life. Stepping down from whatever social pecking order they may be in can be difficult. So there are women who are very much involved in, a high income, very affluent neighborhood with very affluent peers and other wives and moms. And if they have to move out of the neighborhood and step away from these relationships, that can be really, really difficult and leave, these women feeling sort of floating out there without that sort of, social pecking order in place. And it's, can leave women feeling insecure. So, moving to a smaller place can hurt, and you might have to make other cuts. Maybe you vacationed with your girlfriends twice a year, or, you had regular spa treatments that you simply can't do anymore because, again, we're in that new normal. And perhaps these are just luxuries that, you have to cut. I don't want this to sound one-sided. Don't forget that the two of you are now going to experience a new normal. So cuts are going to have to be made on both sides. So just recognize that this is going to be painful. Change, sometimes is good and sometimes is difficult. So make sure you strive to accept where you are now and also where you're going. Don't pine for the past. The past is over. Don't live there. What you want to do is work towards creating a better future for you and for the children. Another mistake is allowing yourself to be bullied. This is sort of like what we talked about earlier. Any bullying you received during your marriage will absolutely positively increase during the divorce because we're naturally now in a more volatile time. So if you're naturally passive and accommodating, you may be uncomfortable asserting yourself. But again, this is the time where you need to push past that feeling of discomfort and absolutely assert yourself. You don't want to have to go back into court and say, well, I'm uncomfortable with the decisions that I made. The judge is probably not going to entertain that. So think about how you can overcome that feeling of being bullied and how you can be more assertive. Get strong. Don't allow yourself to be pressured into a bad settlement. You have the ability to negotiate, and you should have a good family law attorney next to you guiding you. If you're feeling pressured into a bad settlement, mediation with a neutral third party mediator or attorney may not be for you. If it's a high pressure situation, collaborative law, where both parties have an attorney representing them but agree to not litigate, may be better for you because you have your attorney there being vocal for you and really getting out your message and what it is that you can live with and what will make you at peace with an agreement. Be prepared to fight when necessary. If your attorney is telling you, listen, your spouse is not going to agree to negotiate, they're not going to be acquiescent at all, you might have to go to court. And that's, again, when it's really, really important to have a good attorney next to you to be able to be your strong voice if you can't be at that time. And as you're learning to assert yourself, think of this entire experience, as negative as it can be, as a chance for personal growth. You'll learn to be more assertive in other areas of life once you've gone through and weathered this storm. Well, that's it for today's episode. As you see there, we have offices all throughout New Jersey. We are a statewide practice. We can certainly welcome you into the office for a consultation. Our consultations are always free. You see the telephone number there, give us a call. You can shoot us an email. Of course, we look forward to hearing from everybody, including potential clients. If you want more information about this presentation, we have a fabulous download that really takes all of this information in, and you can download that and have it at your fingertips. Also, visit our website. You'll see the website address there. It's weinbergerlawgroup.com. So much information there, not only about divorce, but about custody and adoption, relocation if you want to move out of state with your child, really anything that you can think of with regard to family law. We have everything there that you could possibly need. Now, we don't want the men to feel left out, so we're going to come to you Friday with a webinar called Perilous Mistakes That Men Make in Divorce, because men, you certainly make mistakes as well. So that's it for today.